Good evening and welcome to Eagle Eye News at 6.
Eagle Eye TV has done a great job.
And welcome to Eagle Eye News at 6.
We are just having a great time here in Auburn, Alabama. The party is not over yet.
Eagle Eye TV, Auburn's news leader.
Good evening and welcome to Eagle Eye News at 6. I'm Lucy Chapman.
And I'm Brady Huneycutt. Thank you for joining us.
Auburn students and community members are lacing up their running shoes, preparing to take on not just the race course, but a cause that impacts hundreds of thousands. Kappa Delta hosted its 33rd annual Shamrock 5K run to raise money in support of the prevention of child abuse in America and special deliveries of Lee County. Registration fees ranged from $15 to $16. The money raised went to the national and local child abuse prevention organizations. Beginning and ending at Cater Lawn, students and community members joined together to take part in the 3-mile run. Even after 33 years, Kappa Delta's work with the Shamrock Project continues to prove that a single race can make a lasting impact.
Last Saturday, a man was hospitalized after falling a significant height inside of Jordan-Hare Stadium. Auburn police was responding to a criminal trespassing complaint when the man fled the scene on foot. During the pursuit, law enforcement says he fell from Jordan-Hare and sustained serious injuries. Officers on the scene rendered aid and performed life-saving treatment. The man was flown to a regional hospital for further treating, and he is currently in a stable condition.
Last Tuesday, a reproductive advocacy organization held a peaceful protest outside of the Alabama State House, urging legislators to vote against the SB 209 bill. The bill would restrict sex education in public schools and require abstinence-only education. Organized by Unite for Reproductive and Gender Equity, the protest included a press conference and rally outside the steps of the State House. For more information on the effects of the bill and how you can make a difference, visit the Auburn Plainsman website. When we come back, you'll have a weather update with Annabelle Whetstone and a political update with Tessa Allen. You're watching Eagle Eye News at 6.
Welcome back to Eagle Eye News at 6. My name is Annabelle Whetstone, here with your weather outlook for the rest of the week here on the Plains. We are expecting a dry 3 days with no potential rainfall during the week. Temperatures are slowly warming up to about high 60s and low 70s, and they will be slowly rising throughout the week. Moving into the weekend, we're seeing cloudy conditions with lower temperatures in the morning. Saturday, the sun likely will not show, but the high is 65. Sunday is looking like rain for most of the day and into the evening. That's all I have for you. When we come back, you'll have a political update from Tessa Allen. You're watching Eagle Eye News at 6.
Good evening and welcome back to Eagle Eye News at 6. I'm Tessa Allen with Eye on the Hill, here to give you all things politics. The Epstein files have been the center of political discourse recently, and the House Judiciary Committee questioned U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi about Trump, the Epstein files, political prosecutions, and accountability for ICE agents. Pam Bondi had disagreements with the Democrat lawmakers, giving deflections and insults. CNN's Paula Reed reports.
This guy has Trump derangement syndrome.
In her first appearance before House lawmakers, Attorney General Pam Bondi played to an audience of one.
He is the most transparent president in the nation's history. And none of them asked Merrick Garland over the last 4 years one word about Jeffrey Epstein. How ironic is that? You know why?
Lawmakers repeatedly pressed her on the Department of Justice's handling of the Epstein files and the impact on survivors.
Will you turn to them now and apologize for what your Department of Justice has put them through with the absolutely unacceptable release of the Epstein files and their information?
Congresswoman, you sat before Merrick Garland sat in this chair twice
Attorney General
Bryce,
Bondi.
no, can
I'm
I
gonna
finish my answer?
No, I'm going to reclaim my time because I asked you a
Attorney General, yes,
specific
sir.
question
Attorney General
that
can
I would
respond to your
like
question.
you to answer, which is, will you turn to the survivors?
Republican Thomas Massey grilled her on redaction mistakes that he says exposed survivors and protected perpetrators.
These are the documents that we need that you're holding on to and over-redacting because they have the names of the men who are implicated. How do we know? Because the survivors gave testimony to the FBI.
But Bondi came armed with personalized insults for any lawmaker that pressed her on an issue she did not want to discuss.
And I told you about that, Attorney General, before you started.
You don't tell me.
Yeah, oh, I
anything,
did tell you because we saw what you did in the Senate.
Lawyer, not even a lawyer.
And the hearing swiftly devolved into a series of shouting matches.
How many have you indicted?
Excuse me, I'm going to answer the question.
Answer my question.
No, I'm going to answer the question the way I want to answer the question.
No,
Your
you're going to answer the
theatrics are
question the
ridiculous.
way I asked it.
Chairman Jordan, I'm not going to get in the gutter with these people.
I believe you just lied under oath. There is ample evidence in the Epstein file.
Don't you ever accuse me of a crime.
I believe you.
If they could maintain their composure, this isn't a circus, this is a hearing.
Now, despite the theatrics, there was one area where they were able to reach sort of a bipartisan consensus, and that was on threats against lawmakers. The Attorney General said she would be willing to work across the aisle with lawmakers on that issue. Paula Reed, CNN, Washington.
Questions about how the administration is handling ICE and the Epstein files is becoming a political debate for lawmakers and citizens. After widespread outrage and the deaths of 2 U.S. citizens during protests tied to ICE operations, the month-long immigration enforcement crackdown in Minneapolis is coming to an end. White House border czar Tom Homan announced the end of Operation Metro Surge during a press conference today.
I have proposed, and President Trump has concurred, that this surge operation conclude. A significant drawdown has already been underway this week and will continue through the next week.
At its peak, the operation surged about 3,000 immigration officers into the area, with the Department of Homeland Security stating that thousands of undocumented migrants were arrested during the operation. Because of the uproar from the public against immigration enforcement, the Department of Homeland Security is out of time for funding. Democratic senators have blocked a funding bill for the DHS today. In September, all of the government agencies were fully funded, but money for the DHS was held back after Democrats demanded reform on the immigration enforcement operations. They took this stance after federal agents killed 2 U.S. citizens in Minneapolis last month. Nearly all DHS workers will remain on the job, but many won't get paid until Congress passes a funding bill. Agencies like FEMA, the TSA, and the Coast Guard are all departments that will be affected by this funding block. The deadline to fund DHS is tomorrow night, but Congress is off all next week for the President's Day holiday, resulting in many senators leaving after casting their final votes for the week. GOP leader John Thune vowed to call them back to Washington if Democrats strike a deal with the White House. That's all with Eye on the Hill, but when we get back, you'll get national news update from the desk. I'm Tessa Allen, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back to Eagle Eye News at 6. Israel's prime minister says Iran will be the top of the agenda for his talks with Donald Trump. Benjamin Netanyahu is set to meet with the U.S. president Wednesday. President Trump told Axios that he's thinking about sending another aircraft carrier strike group to the Middle East to keep pressure on Iran amid ongoing negotiations. CNN's Nick Robertson has the latest.
It's the 7th time the pair will be meeting, and before leaving, the Prime Minister of Israel said that really pointed to that close relationship, the fact that he's seen and met with President Trump on so many occasions, just during the president's second term. And he points to that, saying this indicates the strength of the relationship that I have with President Trump. This indicates the strength of the relationship between Israel and the United States. And the implication of that is that when he goes into his meeting with President Trump, he is going to get listened to, and hopefully more than that, the president will act on what he's saying. And what he said is going to go into that meeting talking about, first and foremost, he said, is the Iran talks. He wants to be able to give his view on what negotiations and talks should be like. And he is very concerned, he has said, about Iran's ballistic missile program, about Iran's funding and supporting of proxies in the region here. President Trump has said that and he said this on Friday, that he is happy talking to Iran at the moment in the talks only about the nuclear issue and not about the missiles and not about the supporting of proxies in the region. Ali Laranjani, very senior Iranian official, the head of the Supreme National Security Council in Iran, had meetings in Oman with the Sultan. That's quite exceptional. It sort of hints that the talks that were held on Friday, although both sides came out and said they were positive, it hints that there were some difficulties below the surface there. And we've heard from Laranjani speaking after that meeting in Oman, saying that one of the things he thinks should happen in the next step, next phase, should be a strategic threat reduction. And by that, I think is implying that the United States needs to back off with its aircraft carrier and other armaments in the region. He does say that he supports and thinks that the United States wanting to talk only about the nuclear file now is the right way to go, an improvement over previous administrations, he said. And if that's successful, then there's the possibility of moving on to other issues. He doesn't say missiles, he doesn't say proxies, but he does say that there's that possibility. I think the caveat here has to be, when looking at Iranian negotiations over the years, this phased approach is favored by them, and it doesn't mean everyone's going to get to the next step. And when it comes to instability in the region, Laranjani pointed a finger very clearly at Israel. But it is Prime Minister Netanyahu who's actually going to be in the room at the White House with President Trump on Wednesday. And that deep and strong connection that they have will count for something, the Israeli leader hopes. At the moment, though, it really does seem as if the possibility of talks continue. The threat of force, if not, is still very real.
Major developments in the Nancy Guthrie case came late Tuesday evening, with a person detained for questioning. This coming just hours after the FBI released doorbell camera footage from outside Guthrie's front door taken the night she disappeared, showing a masked armed person. Yvonne Rodriguez is in Catalina Foothills, Arizona, with all the latest developments.
The images released by the FBI are the biggest break in the case so far. Investigators hope that by releasing these images, someone will be able to recognize this person and provide that crucial tip. A man is speaking out after being detained and questioned by authorities over the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie.
And they told me I was being detained for kidnapping. And I asked him, like, well, kidnapping of who? And they told me this lady, I don't know her name. And,
Nancy Guthrie?
Yeah, that's her. And I told him, I work in Tucson for GLS. I might have delivered a package to your house, but I never kidnapped anybody.
The individual was detained during a traffic stop an hour's drive south of Tucson. Authorities executed a search warrant at a home and also searched a car. Both of those searches taking place in Rio Rico, Arizona, roughly 60 miles south of Tucson, near the U.S.-Mexico border. Authorities did not file charges, and he was eventually released. Those developments happening just hours after the FBI released doorbell camera footage from outside Nancy Guthrie's front door, taken the night she disappeared. The video showed a masked, armed person with a backpack. There was an uptick in calls to law enforcement after the release of the footage.
This video was a game changer. We don't know how many tips they have had, but they are looking for the person on the porch or anyone who knows anything about him. And I do think it's just a matter of time before we know that person's identity.
TMZ is reporting it received a bizarre letter via email earlier this morning from someone purporting to know Nancy Guthrie's kidnapper and also demanding a single Bitcoin in exchange for that information. When asked by CNN regarding this latest note, the FBI said, quote, outside of our previously issued statements, we have no updates to share at this time. In Catalina Foothills, Arizona, I'm Ivan Rodriguez.
The House voted to effectively cancel President Trump's Canadian tariffs Wednesday. In a vote of 219 to 211, 6 Republicans joined all but 1 House Democrat to pass the resolution. It would end the national emergency Trump declared last year to justify imposing the 25% tariff on Canadian imports. After the vote, Trump posted on Truth Social, quote, any Republican in the House or the Senate that votes against
vote,
tariffs
the yeas are
will seriously
219
suffer
and the nays are
the consequences
211.
come
The joint
election time,
resolution is
and that
passed
includes
without
primaries.
objection. The motion to
The Senate has already passed a similar measure to cancel Trump's tariffs on Canada. Even if the Senate agrees to this same House measure, Trump would still have the power to veto it. Each chamber would need a 2/3 majority in order to override a veto. When we come back, you'll get an entertainment update from Olivia Oakley. You're watching Eagle Eye News at 6.
Welcome back to Eagle Eye News at 6. I'm Olivia Oakley, here to give you your entertainment news for the week. Do you think you have what it takes to perform at the Super Bowl halftime show? The competition to land a role in Bad Bunny's halftime show was pretty intense. Andrew Atheist describes his experience landing the job.
40,000 people are rumored to have applied for the Super Bowl halftime job. The gig, be a Bush, but not just any Bush. One in Bad Bunny's Super Bowl halftime show.
Like this is just the arm piece. Like this is just what goes on my arm here. There's another arm piece that we get, and then there's a headpiece and a backpack and a tunic and a shoulder. Like it's a whole process.
Atheist flew around 2,500 miles from Philadelphia to San Francisco for the job.
The requirements were you had to be between 5'7" and 6 foot, no bigger, no smaller, and you had to be somewhat athletic and marching band experience, which I kind of had, and also comfortable with wearing a 45-pound costume and not claustrophobic.
Atheist says organizers opted to use people instead of carts with props, since there's a limit to how many can be on the field at once. But one of the hardest parts, he says, was keeping the gig a secret.
It was a very serious NDA. They dropped like 40 people from this because there were people that shared stuff on TikTok.
While he didn't get to personally meet Bad Bunny, he says just playing a small part in the show was more than enough.
As a Jamaican, being surrounded by, people of all these different cultures and ethnicities and, a Puerto Rican superstar that is, on a global scale, we all feel like, we're Puerto Rican, last night. But at the same time, we all felt human. We all felt like we were people of the same.
Budweiser left it all out on the field on Sunday with their Super Bowl commercial, bringing in a record-breaking 10th first-place finish in USA Today's Ad Meter contest. The company came out on top of this year's ranking with their 60-second ad, American Icons. It follows the story of a young foal rescuing and raising a baby bald eagle, and Leonard Skinner's Free Bird sets the tone in the background, a song executives say was the only choice. The ad marked Budweiser's 150th anniversary, while tying it to America's upcoming 250th with the iconic Clydesdale front and center. In the post-game voting, Budweiser effortlessly passed Lay's, Pepsi, Dunkin', and Michelob Ultra to claim the top spot. Chappell Roan has followed suit of the other Wasserman artists and has left the agency after correspondence between the agency's founder and Jeffrey Epstein's accomplice was revealed. Casey Wasserman's emails with Ghislaine Maxwell were recently released by the Justice Department. As reason for her leaving, Chappell says she holds her team to high standards, saying in an Instagram story, "This decision reflects my belief that meaningful change in our industry requires accountability and leadership that earns trust." The emails were from years before her crimes came to light, and Wasserman has not been accused of any wrongdoing by the DOJ. Wasserman chairs the 2028
Los Angeles Olympic Games and is facing a public that calls for him to resign from that role. With the 2026 Winter Olympics in full swing, people are getting creative with ways to bring that spirit of the season to their own homes.
Check out a crafty Minnesota grandpa's gift to his grandkids, a backyard winter wonderland complete with a literal luge track. Care reports Steve Blees of Scandia got the idea while mowing his hilly property a few years ago and made it a reality in the winter, digging out a nearly 300-foot-long luge track he's nicknamed the Papa Bear Plunge. The kids say they're blown away by their grandpa's efforts. Meanwhile, Blees says it's just what good grandpas do.
That's all I have for you today. When we come back, you'll get a business consumer update from Lucy and Brady. I'm Olivia Oakley, and you're watching Eagle Eye News at 6.
Welcome back to Eagle Eye News at 6. Testimony in the landmark social media addiction trial in California got underway on Wednesday. The head of Instagram, Adam Mosseri, testified in a Los Angeles Superior Courtroom. Mosseri was asked whether Instagram hooks young users. He said he doesn't think users can be, quote, clinically addicted to the app, though he acknowledged that problematic use was possible. The trial comes after a now 20-year-old woman filed a lawsuit against YouTube and Instagram's parent company, Meta. She alleges the companies deliberately developed addictive features to get young people hooked and that her mental health has been harmed as a result. A lawyer for Meta argued that woman's mental health challenges were due to her difficult childhood. The jury will likely not hear many arguments related to Instagram or YouTube's content. That's because a federal law shields tech companies from liability over content that their users post. This lawsuit is the first of more than 1,500 similar cases going to trial.
A legal battle is underway in Massachusetts over the scent of chicken. A Raising Cane's in Boston has filed a lawsuit against a building owner. According to the suit, the landlord is threatening to evict the Chicken Finger restaurant over its chicken finger smells. The company says it has spent $230,000 in an effort to minimize the odor. They want the court to determine if they've made reasonable efforts to do so. The lawsuit alleges the landlord is accusing Raising Cane's of violating the lease with their uncontrolled chicken smells because they are renegotiating a lease with another restaurant to take its place. The company claims that would violate the terms of their lease, which is set to end in 2037.
American Airlines leadership has lost the faith of its rank and file. Its flight attendant union issued a unanimous vote of no confidence against CEO Robert Isom Monday. That comes just 3 days after the pilots' union asked to meet with the board of directors. They want to discuss the company's performance, which is dismal. American operates more flights and carries more passengers than any other domestic airline. Yet, it only accounts for 6% of the industry's profits. Delta earned 56% while United got 43%. The numbers are extremely important because pilots and flight attendants get a share of airline profits. Neither union is currently involved in contract negotiations, which makes their actions even more noteworthy.
We're out of time, but for more Auburn news, head over to our website, eagleeyeauburn.com, and check out our social media pages. I'm Brady Huneycutt.
And I'm Lucy Chapman. Thank you for watching, and War Eagle.